He was thrown out after a 12-year-long tenure as Prime Minister. Now he's back in the saddle after sitting in the opposition for 14 months. He also faces corruption cases ranging from bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. But that hasn't stopped Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu from scripting an impressive comeback in what appears to be the makings of Israel's most right-wing government ever in its history. Netanyahu has, of course, denied all the corruption allegations, saying they are nothing but a politically motivated witch hunt. Israel's caretaker Prime Minister Yair Lapid conceded defeat, with his office saying it will facilitate an organized transition of power. This is Israel's fifth election in just 4 years. Netanyahu is expected to get 42 days to form the government, which is likely to include leaders of the far-right body Religious Zionism, whose leader Itamar Ben-Gvir is known for his anti-Arab views. Ben-Gvir has openly given calls for Israel to annex the entire West Bank. As Israel is all set to lean even more right, another nation in South America has turned left in just 4 years, where another political leader has spearheaded a remarkable comeback. That's Brazil's new president-elect, Lula da Silva. In 2002, he became Brazil's first working-class president, with humble beginnings as a factory worker. Born into poverty, many saw in Lula a reflection of what their own lives had been. He won a re-election bid 4 years later. When he completed his second term, his approval ratings were at 90%. The next decade, though, was devastating for both Lula and his Workers' Party. He was convicted on corruption charges and sent to jail, where he spent 580 days. The charges were quashed last year. By then, Jair Bolsonaro, the far-right leader of Brazil who was president, was seeking a re-election. Bolsonaro became the first sitting president to be denied a second term, while Lula scripted a comeback that seemed unthinkable just 4 years ago. These two comebacks on the left and the right of the political spectrum came in the span of just 1 week. But there are other examples in history where some who were thought to have fallen out of favor have returned to make a mark for themselves. There's Britain's Winston Churchill, who resigned as the Minister of the Navy during World War I, after sending tens of thousands of Allied troops to their death in the Gallipoli campaign. He emerged as a new leader during World War II to lead Britain to its victory over Nazi Germany. France's World War II resistance leader Charles de Gaulle was a hero in 1944 at the liberation of Paris. 2 years later, he had to go. He returned in 1958. He was called back to lead the country through Algeria's war for independence from France and used the opportunity to push through a new constitution that gave much more power to the head of state. Deng Xiaoping's name is now taken with a lot of reverence in China, but Xiaoping was purged twice during the Cultural Revolution in China. He was first banished by Mao Zedong in 1966, then again in 1967, but returned after the death of Mao to lead China's economic transformation into a superpower. Italy's Silvio Berlusconi has been nicknamed the Immortal, given the number of times he's managed to jump back into political relevance. 9 years ago, he was kicked out because of a tax fraud. He's also survived a scandal involving sex parties when he was the premier. His party is now part of the coalition that governs Italy under its new Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. And that brings us to one politician who's eyeing a comeback. He went out on a limb to claim that the presidential election was snatched from him. And now Donald Trump is already talking about the possibility of running again for the President of the United States in 2024. Politics, as they say, is the art of the possible. And some of these comebacks do show that in politics, it's never over till it's over.